This meeting is being live streamed. Ta-da! Does it say we're live? Yep, it says we're live.
Oh man, I don't
Are
know
you
why.
there?
Hello. Okay, I give up. Yes, I'm here. And I can't see anything on Facebook, but let's assume that we are live. So, hello. If you're watching, maybe I've got to go to your profile. If you're watching, say
Yeah.
hello. I may not see you because I can't seem to work out my phone. Oh, we are. I see us on your profile. Okay, so hello. I'm live with Lainey. Lainey's in Mexico. I am in the county of my birth tonight, Devon, in England, which is very exciting. And I'm with my cousin for the weekend. And Lainey and I are going to talk about what partnering with our children actually means. What is partnership parenting? I don't know if we made that term up, but we like to think that we did. But sometimes I feel like maybe people don't know what we're talking about. So this is really letting you in on what we actually mean when we talk about partnering with our children or partnership parenting. And I have been talking quite a lot about parenting and what I think about how we relate with our children lately. And what I've noticed is that lots of people go straight to leading with their fears and their beliefs around parenting whenever they comment. And sometimes people don't even read all of the words before going, but, if you just let your kids go do what they want, this is going to happen. If you just let your kids stay up all night, that's going to happen. And so this is really an opportunity for anyone.
I'm
Like,
going
what?
to interrupt you. Your camera's not on, and we want to see our beautiful face. It's just me.
Oh, I'm on my
There you are. Okay,
phone,
please
my
carry on.
voice. Do you think
And
anyone heard me speaking or not?
no, we could hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Can you
But
see
I
me?
wasn't, yeah, now I can finally see you. I wasn't looking at the video because I was going in and tagging you and sharing the links and all that
Yeah,
stuff while you're doing the
yeah.
intro. Okay,
And
carry on. I'm sorry about interrupting, darling.
I don't know what I'm saying now. Oh, yeah. So this is an opportunity for anyone who's watching to ask us questions. If you ever read our words and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Please ask us now. And we're going to dispel some myths, I think, about what life is like when you give your children a voice. Because I guess it doesn't really matter how radical you get, we still live in a society that operates under a hierarchy with parents. Well, parents aren't at the top, nowhere near. Parents are nowhere near the top of the hierarchy, but in your family, parents are generally at the top of the tree, right? So even when we talk about partnering with our children, it's normally all about allowing or letting, or like parents have still got the last say, right? Like if I choose, oh crap, sorry. You should see my setup. It's hilarious. I've got my phone balanced on about 3 different things to try to keep it upright. Okay, here we go. Always
Any,
in a round.
any of them a wine glass?
One note, I've got my Kangen water in a jar, and then there's some kind of pump bottle of insect repellent, and then there's like a calendar with a flip lid, and my phone is leaning up. I'm at somebody else's house that I hardly know, and I'm using their office.
Nice, nice. Guys,
Yeah.
this
So,
is Erin and I keeping it real. We're not doing these
always.
polished whatever. We
Yeah.
are here to support you guys. And it really, truly, before we move on, I just want to say it's our honor to be able to do this, to share the wisdom and a lot of the trials and tribulations that we've discovered along the way. And we're really passionate about doing this. So
Mm.
carry on. We're not this polished PR machine. We're just doing our shit. Like we're just
It's
here.
very.
Yeah.
So I came to partnering with my children in a different way to Lady, and that's actually really amazing because it means we've got a really balanced kind of lived experience, I guess. So Lady's journey is much more intentional than mine, and so whenever people say to me things like, like, thank you for your wisdom, or I love your words, or you've really helped me, or whatever, I always like to point out, and this is 100% true, that it's not me. Like, I did not want to be, I did not think I would be this kind of parent. I thought I would be like a French mum whose children were like really neat and had beautiful manners and never went out for dinner, because French children don't very often go out for dinner. And they were like pretty much just like convenient and well behaved. That's what I thought I ordered, and that is not what I got. But my children have been very, very clear from birth that they wanted an equal voice, and that they wanted to be in charge of their life, and that they were really happy to work with me, but not on my terms necessarily. So I've come to partnering with my children because I promise you there was literally no choice. So I'm not brave or amazing or any of those things at all. But what I have gotten very good at doing is, well, I'm not even that good at that actually. Like, my children call me out a lot, is listening to what my children want, and being, I guess, the kind of mother that my children have asked for, which is not at all the kind of mother I thought I would be. And there is literally no choice. Like, for me, there has been no choice. Yeah. And I think that's important, because I know we've got a lot of people that follow us who think that, like, we've made these amazing decisions or sacrifices or whatever. No. So if I can do this, like, if I can partner with my children, anyone can, I promise you. Like, if you want to be able to listen to your children deeply and honor who they are as individuals and who they were born to be, like, anyone can.
Yeah, I mean, again, like keeping it real and bringing the authenticity. For those of you that know my story was very different. I was very intentional. I wanted to have a partnership with my child because there were two of us traveling, and I didn't want to be his boss. Like, I just didn't. I wanted this to be owned as our own um, adventure. And it was very, very different for us because we were intentional about creating partnership, but the parameters were really different. Like, we were doing it because we were traveling for 1 year. And so, like, that seemed like doable. Like, that seemed like it was like this whole really accessible thing that we could commit to. And in the beginning, we struggled to make sure that we maintained that balance of the things that we're setting out to do. And I got to learn a lot about it. And then when 1 year turned into 13 years, we just continued. We didn't at some point say we're not going to be in partnership anymore. We expanded on the partnership experience, and we decided that we were able to redefine and mold and massage and recreate what it meant to us, because being in partnership means that we're empowered to do that. And so anytime anything didn't work in that paradigm, we made adjustments, and that's just how it worked. So Sarah and I are not saying partnership parenting has to be this rigid set of rules, but I want to actually spend a couple of moments, and I sort of let Sarah know that there's something that I want to look at and get Sarah's reaction. First of all, before we do that, before we jump into that, I want to just start off by saying, look, as parents, primarily every parent on the planet, almost every parent on the planet wants what's best for their kids. Like there's no I would say it's very uncommon that a parent wants what's not best for their kid. So, knowing that as that string that holds, the commonality between all parents. I've looked at and been involved in and taken many workshops and other people's courses, parenting courses. A lot of it's research for me, and being exposed and learning, because I'm all about learning and expanding my awareness. But more times than not, I see that this thread of we all want what's best for our children to go down the path of fear-based messaging. And Sarah talks a lot about differentiating between what's convenient for the parent and being able to pull that apart from really what you really want for your family. And Sarah's got just a really keen way of being able to kind of pull out the agenda behind some of the things that our clients are doing, because she's very intuitive in that sense. And so when I see this fear-based marketing, you want what's best for your kid, most of the time the marketing then alludes to processes or parenting styles that are based on control. And control always, always, always comes from fear. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to share with you this email that I just got. I'm not going to share the name of the program or the name of the company, but it's basically trying to sell a program, basically, and I'll air quote it, parenting for academic success. So there's already an implied message there. The message is you need to parent in a way that is going to assure that your child's future is, assured for them. It's going to be based on success. And of course, we want our children to succeed. So if I don't take this class, then of course I'm a bad parent. So I'm going to be in fear because I need to learn these principles of parenting for success, especially in an academic sense. And there's so much to unpack here. And I'm just going to read a couple of the bullet points. So the one of them is, do you worry that your child fell behind during COVID, but you don't know how to help them catch up? Would you like to stop having arguments with your child about schoolwork, chores, and screen time? Are you tired of nagging and hovering, but worried that if you stop, your child will fail? And here's the last one that just gets me. Are you anxious that your child isn't living up to their potential, but you're not sure how to support them? So I don't know if you guys get a sense of all the fear-based programming in that, but I wanted to get Sarah's reaction to those bullet points. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, I guess my initial reaction was, because I haven't heard those bullet points before, maybe because I always see the best in things by nature, maybe they're actually wanting to support parents to connect with their children, but they're trying to get into the heads of the parents that might buy their program. But they certainly are using those pain points to market. And I think it's really clever. Maybe we should do that, Lainey.
But you know, it's such a problem with inauthentic fear-based programming, because marketing
You know,
doesn't come from the world of advertising.
yeah.
And maybe that's why people are not knowing what partnership parenting is, because we don't use these kinds of tactics, which I think are inauthentic and not very honest.
Well, I think, like, as you said before, parents want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And like in our modern society, the main way parents feel that they know they're not doing a good job is when they aren't feeling like they tick those obvious boxes of success. And those markers are very much societal. So let's just say the majority, even though our children don't, the majority of children go to school. So a very big measure of a child's success is that academic stuff. And then there are some other elements of like programming and conditioning around behavior. A child has beautiful manners. A child is convenient. That's not the words that we use, of course. We like to say polite, pleasant, happy, kind. Like, there's all these words that we use to dress it up, but it's basically compliant and convenient. And so there are these measures of success. So when what we're talking about is not success in the conventional sense. Like Lainey and I, well, you and I, we're not offering a program that teaches you how to get a particular product. So it's very hard then, of course, to measure the success, because we all want to, most of us, have a product. When we outlay money in particular, we want to know what we're going to get. We want this product, and there is nothing more indicative of success as a parent than turning out this beautiful product, which maybe is a child who, maybe it's a child who gets good grades. And I think we can live with not getting good grades as long as they're really good at sport, or really good at music, or like they have beautiful manners and they're great in public speaking, and they're very neat, and they can cook a meal from scratch, and they know how to load the dishwasher, and they help their grandma, like whatever, like these are all arbitrary, of course, but we like to know that we're doing a good job. And when you don't have those conventional markers of success, how do you know that you're doing a good job? And when you're talking about the inside job, there are less obvious indicators that it's working. So and actually what we're talking about is like an anti-product. And that's really uncomfortable, because we all want to know that we're doing a good job. All parents want to know that they're getting something for their investment of time and money and love. And really what we're saying is, no, that's a load of bullshit. Yeah. But what do we instead? We're actually guiding people through something quite different, quite like, it's even really hard to describe it, but it's being so connected to your inner compass that even when you've gone through a tricky situation with your kids, maybe your kids have been fighting at home, maybe they're not doing anything that looks like you thought it would look like, but you've got this feeling inside that everything's actually as it should be. Like we've just had a really tricky conversation, or like something quite hard's happened, or the day felt like a bit chaotic, and yet I've gone to bed and I feel so at peace, because everything that happened with my children today, even when it was hard, was in alignment with values, which means I need to know what my values are for a start. We lived without force. Everyone was listened to, even though there was some arguing, because, you know, in a larger family, like there's plenty of people to argue with, or even when there's two, right? You don't always have the same opinion. But that knowing that, like, oh, I feel good about this, particularly when things are hard, particularly when there's no success.
Yeah. It's really hard for me because I react strongly to this kind of marketing, right? And it is, like I said, based on fear, and they're trying to deliver a tangible result, which comes in the package of controlling the behavior or modifying the behavior of your child. And in many ways, for many parents, that might seem like the obvious choice to get a tangible result. And I want to guarantee you, if you can choose that kind of approach, that's fine. That's totally fine. But what Sarah and I are offering and we're constantly talking about is actually delivering a product, right? The product of having a set of tools and I know you just said we're not delivering a product, but having a set of tools and a roadmap and a way to measure your quote unquote success or development, and to be able to recognize the milestones and signs when you move into a space of control, which is based off of fear. Anytime that you're interacting with another human being and it's based on fear as the bottom motivating factor, the fear that they're not going to succeed, the fear that they don't know how to do it, the fear that they're going to be living in my basement for 40 years, those sorts of fears then can motivate you to make a choice that you can see a tangible result today, like changing their behavior based on control. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying what we do is we give you the tools to recognize and unpack this fear. So let's stop the fear, or recognize the fear when it comes up. And you, as the parent, have the actual tools to be able to unpack the fear, recognize the beliefs that have derived from this fear, and to be able to clearly understand when you are reacting from this line of thinking, or this pattern or belief that you have stored in your deep in your subconscious. If you wish to reprogram those things and be accountable in partnership with everybody in your family, you are then choosing a path of connection, not fear. And that really is the foundation of partnership, right? Mm-hmm. That's how partnership runs. It's like the engine of partnership, if you will. It takes more guts as a parent to say, I'm stepping into this. I want to be the best parent because I want what's best for my child, right? And a way of doing that is owning your own contribution to the family dynamic, and then allowing that kind of awareness to become the model for how everybody in the family interacts. And it's messy, it takes work, it takes vulnerability, it takes, sometimes there's tears, sometimes there's frustration. Being in human relationships with one another is never just simple. It's messy. Life is messy. And I get I want the quick solution. I want the pill, I want the band-aid, I want the formula. And if I can do it to change their behavior, it's more convenient for me. And we're saying partnership parenting and the stuff that we do, Sarah, is not taking that quick pill, that band-aid, or that quick fix route.
Yeah, it's absolutely not. And I think well, what I think maybe because we've probably got quite a lot of new people that follow us that perhaps didn't know us a year ago. I'm noticing a lot of interaction lately around some confusion around what that all actually means. Does it mean that we're not parenting our children? Does it mean that we're not guiding our children? Does it mean that our children are just doing whatever they want and we're not ever providing any kind of like compass or direction or and I want to address that because that's so intertwined with what you just said, and I guess highlights that we're not aiming for a child, like we're not aiming for a particular type of child at the end of it, but what we are aiming for is for parents to be completely at peace with the choices that they're making, so that whatever is happening with their child, they know how to they know where to go to within themselves to ground themselves and have the kind of inner peace that then allows them to be present for their child regardless of what's going on with their child. So it's far less about our children in a way, and more about us. Yeah. And I think that can sometimes be misinterpreted as not caring about our children or not doing anything that is going to guide them the way we might think they should go. Which, by the way, is a little bit true because I rarely guide my children in the direction that I think they should go in. I certainly do provide guidance, but it's never, ever about them going in the direction that I think. And so lots of people think that it is permissive parenting, which, by the way, is a term that I absolutely hate, because I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. But I most often see it used by people that really have no idea what is required to partner with our children, because outwardly it certainly can look like, in our house anyway, that my children are doing whatever the hell they want, and they mostly are. I won't hide that, but there's a lot of work going on in the background, mostly my inner work, that's nothing to do with them. Yeah, so sure, it can look like they're just doing whatever the hell they want, and why not, by the way. But what is actually going on is that I am doing constant observing of my children, and I am often thinking about, and in constant dialogue with them too, about what they want from me, what kind of guidance they want, if they want guidance, when they want me to step in, when they don't. And that is really, really different to most conventional kind of parenting philosophies that say that you need to tell the child constantly how things are going to be, even in the gentle, conscious parenting world.
Right, because that's based on fear. That's based on
Yeah,
fear, for
yeah,
sure. Control,
yeah, yeah,
anytime you're trying to step up and take control, that's based on fear.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, like, at our house, there's a lot of, hey, I notice that something's going on. Do you want some help? Do you want to talk about it? And depending on the age, depending on the child, depending on their personality, the age, I might get it. No,
Yeah.
I don't need your help, and I'll let you know if I need your help. And I might get a, yeah, I'll tell you about what's going on, but I don't want you to help me. I just want to tell you what's going on. Or I might get a scream and a tantrum and a throwing something, because what looks like is going on isn't actually what's going on. And because each child is different, there is this very, very delicate dance, obviously, often to be done with each child. But it very, very rarely looks like me coming in and saying, no, that's not going to happen. Sometimes it does, very, very rarely. And actually, there was a couple of times this week where I was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But I really do reserve those for, like, usually when there's going to be an impact outside of our family. That's usually what that's reserved for, because kids are by nature, and the younger they are, the more true this is, they are by nature very, very self-centered, which, by the way, is important and not at all negative. It's actually about learning about yourself, where our society has made that really negative, being self-centered. But actually, that is how they learn where their compass sits. Being completely self-absorbed is really natural for children. And they gradually start, like, pushing out of self and working out where they bounce or rub off of other people. And sometimes they might need a grown-up to kind of notice that, oh, you're actually pushing a bit too far into somebody else. But that doesn't go near as much as what I imagine most people think it does.
One of the most common phrases that I used during my son's childhood is there some way I can support you right now?
Mm.
So I'm asking him, is there a way? So he needs to think about it. Is support something he wants? So that's the second thing. And is it something he wants in this moment?
Yeah.
So it opens up and it gets very specific, because if he says no, then I can ask him, is it no, you don't know what you want? No, you don't want any support. No, you don't want it right now. And then I get him to get clear about what it is that's happening. And that a lot of times, especially when there's a meltdown, that shifts his mindset to getting very specific into this moment. And that's usually really useful. And I've spoken a lot about helping our children develop emotional intelligence, which I think is so important. And Miro, my son was doing self-inquiry work very, very young because of questions like that. And his awareness and ability to self-regulate is because he's practiced it in the home. And for me, every no that I got gave me information. And that was like a great, message of self-awareness. And that gives me information on how to move forward too. I think the other thing, Sarah, is that we are not talking about unparenting at all. We are talking about highly connected
I mean,
parents.
what does that mean though? Unparenting. Like, I've literally never met a parent who's unparenting. Like, we've all got a different idea about what parenting means, but like unparenting, I just these.
It's a term I've heard so much in the unschooling world. It's like the parents, you know, um, who knows? Who knows? But the accusation of unparenting comes from a place of fear again, and it's not being able to control not only just the situation, but even the understanding about the situation. It okay, I can understand the situation because now I'm putting this label on it. You're unparenting. You're not, you let your kids do whatever they want. And that's just like the same thing with permissive parenting.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that, kids doing what they want. One of the things that I think can happen is that, on that note, that the things that you think you want to control in your children, which you and I know is really about controlling what's going on inside of ourselves, usually about preventing things bubbling up to the surface that we'd rather keep hidden. Once you work through those things, the reason that you want to control your child in that moment, once you've worked through that, once you've undertaken that inner work, that inner healing, actually what can happen is that you completely lose the desire to control your children.
Totally.
I mean, imagine that.
So I just typed into the comments, does anybody have any questions? So if you do have questions, put them into the chat and Sarah and I will answer them. And I just want to say hello to a few people that are watching. There's Teresa, Carla. I am so sorry, my colleague in Greece. I don't read Greek and I don't remember how to pronounce your name, but you were our partner in Greece. Oh my gosh. I feel I can't read Greek, so I can't pronounce your name right now. There's Michelle and Rachel also watching now. So yeah, guys, if you are watching and there are any questions that you want Sarah and I to answer, please put them into the chat. We'll answer them live. And if you happen to see this recording in replay, yes, just put hashtag replay. And if there are questions, we'll get to them. Either we'll answer them via text or in a different live. Yeah, what are your questions about partnership parenting? What does it mean to you or what doesn't it mean to you? Sarah and I, our goal is to get very, very clear with you here so that you have a really conceptual foundation for understanding what it is that we're talking about.
So what we're talking about, really, for anyone that's joined late, or if you've not seen the work that we've been doing for probably a couple of years now, what we're talking about is partnering with our children. So walking side by side instead of relying on that top-down hierarchical structure that is conventional parenting, where the parent says what goes because they're the parent and they know best, and the children do what they're told. And one of the things that I think has happened over the past few years is that, like, conscious parenting, natural parenting, gentle parenting has gotten very popular because most. Pardon?
Peaceful parenting, don't forget that one.
So those old school parenting practices of like smacking, using overt punishments, punitive measures, etc., to control our children have, in the obvious ways, largely been challenged, and most people don't use those things anymore. But we haven't really replaced those things with anything. So when I had my first child, and she was probably less than one, And I tell this story a lot, so apologies if it's super boring to you. My husband came home from work with an Alfie Cohen book, and I think it was Punished by Rewards. And I started reading it. I didn't yet have even a toddler. She wasn't even really like testing me yet. I knew that we weren't going to smack her, but I was certainly aware of things like the naughty step and timeouts. They were peppering parenting conversations around the world. And when Alfie Cohen was talking about throwing that stuff out the window, I was like, but what the fuck am I going to do instead? He didn't give me any solutions. I was so frustrated. I couldn't even finish the book, actually. And it was quite a long time before. I mean, he's now one of my favorite writers. And I've seen him speak live, and he's like pretty fabulous. I was really annoyed because I felt like if he was telling us to take something away, it was only fair for him to put something back, which he does not do. And I mean, of course, now I understand exactly why that is. And that's not his job. His job wasn't to give us a new set of dogma. His job was to challenge the old. But what Lainey and I recognised, I guess, through our own parenting challenges was that if we're going to throw out the rule book, if we're going to throw out the stuff that says don't smack your kid, don't take their Xbox away, don't shut them in their room, don't not let them have pudding, don't ground them, what do we do? And what I was noticing when I had 4 small children is that what are we going to do were mostly just other ways of getting our kids to do the shit that we wanted. So we can't smack them anymore, right? Agreed. But we still want them to do what we want them to do. So how the hell do you get a kid to put their shoes on to get out the door if you can't smack them? So the answer to that is things like, there's a number of strategies that parents use. What Lainey and I are talking about is, why the hell do you need your kids to put their shoes on anyway? Why do you need to go out? Why do you need to be there at 11 o'clock? And I'm not saying that we're not saying,
we're not saying that you don't need to be there at 11 o'clock.
Like, do what you got to do. But what we're saying goes far deeper than trying to get your kids to do what you want. What we're saying is question everything to the point that you even wonder whether you need to go to that thing at 11 o'clock at all. And maybe you decide that you do, and we can help you work through that too. But it is beyond throwing the rule book out. It is a completely different paradigm, where, I mean, the things that I take so much joy in now when I watch my kids are things that probably 14 years ago would have horrified me. The things that we navigate in our family, I never ever would have imagined that we would allow, let alone participate and take immense joy in. And so what we're talking about really is the kind of inner peace that sees you go to bed at night knowing that you are absolutely smashing having a relationship with your children. And that does not mean, by the way, that everything is perfect all the time, and that you don't get cross with each other, that you don't get annoyed, that your children don't sometimes get really cross with you for something that you've done. But what it does mean is that underpinning every single thing that you do in your family is connection as your like paramount value. And that becomes your set point. And every decision that you make, every problem that you navigate comes straight back to, is this building connection right now or not?
Absolutely. And what we want to really talk about is this is not behavior modification unless you're talking about your own. And we're not even talking about changing your behavior for the sake of being a better parent. We're talking about addressing the underlying reasons and beliefs and patterns that you've been practicing throughout your life, and really addressing those. And then as a result, behaviors change. As a result, absolutely behaviors change. But the moment that, going back to the sort of bullet points that I read off, those are about controlling and changing behavior. And those are about recognizing the pain points, why you want behaviors to change. Well, they will change, but it's not just about changing somebody else's behavior or changing yours. It's about getting to the root of why those beliefs and practices and patterns are there in the first place, and choosing whether or not they serve you in your family. And that's powerful. That's absolutely powerful. And understanding that you have the ability to design your own family culture will blow you away. The moment you actually get that, it changes everything. Anyway, there is a question, so I want to read it to you. I know you don't see the questions. Rachel writes, I need to step back from feeling like my child's emotions are my fault. And she writes a bit of background. One of her daughters suffers from anxiety quite badly, and she often asks herself if her childhood experiences could have caused that. She feels like she's ultimately responsible for her childhood experiences. So, Rachel, are you saying that you're responsible for the experiences you had in your childhood, or your childhood experiences are responsible for your child's experience in relationship to anxiety? Let me know which it is. Did you want to comment, or did you want to wait until we hear her reply?
Well, I mean, I think regardless of what she comes back with, what Rachel is saying is she feels responsible for what's going on with her child. And I imagine along with responsibility often comes a feeling of shame.
And
And
guilt.
yeah. And I think that as parents, it's important that we own our shit, right? Like it's important that we go, oh, that's my stuff. I need to sort that out. But sitting in shame about that is never ever helpful. And shame is usually attached to our shadow. It's almost always attached to something from our childhood too. And often there's a generational pattern as well. So, it's possible to carry the shame for, our mothers and their mothers and their mothers. I would say shame or guilt, and I imagine that's what she's talking about, can be a really important flag. Like, don't ignore it. Don't go, oh, I'm not allowed to feel shame. Because when you don't allow yourself to feel something, then you just feel more shame. And it can be just like perpetuating. So by like noticing it and going, oh, why do I feel shame for that, is important, because if there is something that you feel like you could do differently for your daughter to support her, you are going to be best able to do that if you're not sitting in shame. Taking ownership for something and going, oh, that's my thing, I need to sort that out. You can absolutely do that without feeling ashamed. And actually, sometimes just verbalizing it is enough, because shame is usually attached to something that's hidden. And saying it out loud and going, oh, I actually might need to make some changes, is really powerful. And because when things are out in the light, most of the time shame can't survive, right? It's like shame can't survive with oxygen or light.
Right. Or
Like
shadows.
yeah. So yeah, but also what I really want all parents to know is that repair work is absolutely possible, and it is never too late to do repair work. So if you get to the bottom of something and go, do you know what, that's actually something that I did that could have caused that, it's never too late as a parent to actually talk with your child about that. And we have had conversations in our family about that. Like, I don't know if people know this about me, but I'm fairly open about the fact that we used sleep training with my first child. And that's hugely traumatic, and we believe left some emotional trauma. And we have been really honest about that with our oldest daughter. And we've done lots of talking, and probably I'm still doing the repair work. Now, I'm not ashamed of that. And I'd even go so far as to say I don't regret it, because regret leads to shame. And it's given me a whole lot of empathy for other parents, because I totally understand why parents do that. And it's opened up some really beautiful conversations, but it has definitely left some scars, and you've got to own that. You've got to own that shit as a parent. And this is the interesting thing about partnering, right? Because, and perhaps where it gets misinterpreted, what we're saying is it's possible to walk side by side with your kids. It's possible to give them a really high degree of autonomy, and it's possible to nurture them to be able to make really strong decisions for themselves. But actually, the emotional weight always has to be carried by the parents. And there's a gradual transfer of that weight, which is much easier to do, by the way, when you're walking side by side, right? It's really much easier just hand a little bit of weight to the person next to you, right, in with consent, than trying to chuck it back, right? They're going to miscatch. They're going to drop it. It's going to be too heavy. You're going to like dislocate your shoulder or something. And it is such a gradual transfer of this like burden, if you like, that doing it while you're chatting next to each other makes so much more sense.
Totally. And even, I mean, that actually is a tool is walking side by side versus having a conversation or addressing something that's tense face to
Yeah.
face. Like
Yeah.
that is a wonderful tool. Rachel did say that she's got a lot of trauma in her childhood and that the experiences of her daughter is what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, Rachel, I don't know how old your daughter is. I can't remember if you put her age in here. I too grew up with a lot of trauma, and a lot of the work that I do with parents, but specifically with teens, because that really is my passion and my joy, is working directly with teens, is by helping them by facilitating tools for self-inquiry, and they cover all the different aspects of self, including trauma, how to integrate trauma, to how to recognize when fears, are stacked on top of emotions that are anchoring those beliefs because you keep thinking the thought over and over, into your pattern of thinking, and how to recognize when those are not in alignment with your own values. And I help teens with these tools, even shadow work, all sorts of stuff. And the stuff that I use and that Sarah and I co-facilitate with parents is very similar to that stuff, because for me, um, our really owning our own mental health journey is a big part of showing up in partnership with another person, right? Because I'm accountable for the part that I bring. And if
Yeah.
I have unhealed traumas and your daughter's anxiety is triggering my unhealed traumas, together we can't partner, we can't walk side by side when those things are activated. So for you to get familiar with kind of going in and doing some of that work and pulling it apart and looking and seeing how it affects different parts of your life today is you taking accountability for your own mental health and the you that you bring to the parenting relationship. And by sharing that, not in an inappropriate way, I don't mean by dumping on your child, I mean by letting them know that, being vulnerable, here's what I'm working out, here are the things that I need to overcome. You are indeed modeling a pattern of accountability for your own mental health, and that will help more of these side by side, walking. So, your daughter might see you working on past traumas and integrating them and reprogramming some of the beliefs that you have, and really managing your own triggers and being vocal about that. But you're not telling her what to do, but by sharing that, it will model that it's okay to be, up um, transparent about what's happening in your internal worlds. And that's an invitation for her to be accountable or start stepping into her own accountability. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, 13. Rachel, do you have my book? Um, this is my book. It's actually written for parents of teens. I feel like this is an infomercial. If you don't have it and you want a PDF, I will send you a digital copy of it, because it's everything that we're talking about. It's absolutely everything that we're talking about. So
Yep.
send me a DM. I don't know if you have my book yet. If not, I'll send it to you. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's wrap up because
Yeah.
there's actually a party going on outside my door and I'm missing it.
And somebody's now at my door.
Cool. Thank
Hold
you so
on,
much.
hold on just 1 second. Okay, I just screamed, un momento. All right. All right, guys. So if you have questions for us, please put them into the chat or reach out to us directly. Sarah and I are going to be offering a course on partnership parenting. If any of this stuff intrigues you and you're feeling like the coercion tactics are not working, engage with us. The work that we talk about and the work that we facilitate is life-changing, we promise. Right?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. I guess that's it. We're out of here. Have a good party, Sarah. Talk to you soon.
Bye.